On Thursday, February 9th, more than 50 people converged on the Manchester Community Library to attend a gathering focused on bringing together representatives of area not-for-profit organizations. After nearly 3 years of struggling through challenges posed by the COVID pandemic, which included making gatherings like this harder to organize, reconnecting with counterparts from other nonprofits was one of the centerpieces of the day. The morning-long conference, which focused on nonprofit organizations based in Bennington County, was kicked off with a welcome from the library's executive director, Ed Surgeon.
Today, we gather to explore how, together, we can do the greatest good. So I think we can all take a look at our post-COVID environment. Many of our organizations have undergone substantial changes, including in our staffing and leadership. And so the chance for all of us to get together in person is really important. And as John mentioned, today is the first of what we hope will be a quarterly forums for the Southern Vermont nonprofit sector. Issues we're contending with now really are beginning to demand a regional approach to achieve the scale that's required for impact.
He was followed by the keynote speaker, Holly Morehouse, the Vice President for Grants and Community Impact for the Vermont Community Foundation, who described the broad reach of the not-for-profit community and some of the challenges they could address.
People are living on the edge. They are struggling to make ends meet. They are stuck in survival mode, and it's affecting a lot of things, including a feeling of isolation. Some of the problems that they identified are the problems that they were just talking about housing. We're aware that housing, we're aware that transportation, we're aware about mental health, we're hearing those things. However, this slide gets at what I was really hit by. So in that question, I pulled together all the responses and they were like single-space text, and I put them together, and it's 18 or so pages. And almost half of those pages were talking about these points: divisiveness in our communities. And it's not just urban-rural. It was new residents moving in and residents that have been there forever. Not getting along, not seeing things, not able to connect. It was about young residents coming in and wanting to get involved and being totally frustrated about how the way things are being done. And older residents who have sat on those committees and councils and alderman boards, select boards for years, really frustrated that the new folks aren't engaging. It was about this idea of sort of new tech and coming in versus the traditional way we've done things. It was about, there was the urban and rural and racial divides as well. And all of that leading to this isolation, burnout, a lot of nonprofit leaders trying real hard to help people connect and having a hard time getting them into those spaces in authentic ways.
After her talk, during a break in the action, we had a chance to talk further with her.
Nonprofits are seeking solutions that are different or new in this space, and still trying to understand. We all are, as the federal dollars go away or decrease. What is that going to look like? Who's that going to affect or leave at the edge? How to show up in this space as nonprofits, and how to connect, like so many of the folks here that are talking about in different ways. I do think there's a lot of positive that we are seeing, at the Community Foundation. It is the hunger of people to connect, to come forward and help. Just the fact that so many showed up here today to partner in new and different ways. I've been on some community visits where 300 people are showing up to talk about what's happening in their community and making sure that kids can walk safely to school, or that their neighbor has access to medication, in the middle of a winter storm. Some things, this is a great time to be in Vermont. What's happening through the McClure Foundation and the Curtis Fund around college access and our partnership with the Community College of Vermont, now is a great time to looking at continuing education beyond high school in Vermont. There hasn't been a better time. You know, what we're seeing around early childhood and what the legislature is looking at in the work of Let's Grow Kids. It also makes it a really great time to be in Vermont and thinking about childcare and how we're starting off our youngest Vermonters. So there are some amazing things that are moving in our space. So I don't want to focus only on challenges. I really want to focus on where we have come together and leveraged all these resources and see promise as well.
After the keynote address, conference members divided up into breakout sessions to discuss some other issues more deeply.
Throughout this county, there are 500 children who don't have enough places to go. They're sitting, they're waiting, and their families are not able to participate in the workforce. So once we get our workforce to where it needs to be, then hopefully we can start taking more children. We have about 100 children on our waiting list right now.
We had kids from Danby that had never been to Manchester because their parents don't have a car, they don't have enough gas. We took the kids over to the Manchester Library, let them buy their first book that they were ever able to pick out by themselves, gave them lunch. He said our kids have never ridden an escalator, never ridden an elevator, just life experiences. We are funding for 20 kids at Leland and Gray on their Journey Away program. They're actually doing environmental study in Louisiana and a couple places that have experienced natural disasters, and then they're going to be bringing that back up here in our community to see how they can create programs for low-income families that are victims of natural disaster. So
we're looking for opportunities as two separate organizations to work together on other projects throughout the year that will help us in our fundraising efforts and just overall support of our communities and our constituents, which happens to be a lot of organizations, not-for-profit as well as for-profit business organizations.
Melissa Bell of the Manchester Community Library was one of the organizers of the event and spoke to what they were hoping to achieve.
So I volunteer here at the library and I volunteer over at the food cupboard. And in working with both, there were opportunities to talk about grants and applying for grants and getting funding. And I realized that there is a lack of knowledge about this. People don't know how to write grant applications here, how to apply for them. So I brought it up in discussions here, and that went into a broader thing, into, well, what are the nonprofits located here? What do we think the needs of them? From a library standpoint, what do we think nonprofits need? And we thought, well, we should ask them. And then that came into, well, why don't we gather everybody together for a community conversation? And let's start the conversation going and see where that takes us. And that's where we are today.
There are many nonprofit organizations across Bennington County and Vermont, and they, along with everyone else coming out of the challenges posed by the COVID pandemic, are hoping to see heightened engagement for 2023. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.